What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to an eight-time world champion, a two-time MMA world champion. He is a hero to me, even though he might be a couple of years younger than me. He's accomplished so much. He's done so much, and I'm really honored to have this guy here. But it's Jose Shorty Torres. Shorty, what's going on, bro?
Man, it's a pleasure and honor for me to be on the show as well. So it's a good time, and we were talking off air. We've known each other for about 5 years now. Kind of crazy how we did one interview together, and then 5 years later we do another. So it's I think it's a long overdue type of interview.
Yeah, absolutely. And you came, it's pretty early where you are in Florida. I hope I'm not talking out of school. You wear it with pride, but originally from Chicago.
Mhm.
But that fucking sweatshirt is off the fucking chain, sir.
I appreciate it. It's just as colorful as my underwear. It's just everything matches. But man, I just like to have fun, and I like to be the light of people's days. So sometimes, and it's funny, I noticed, especially when I was in college, given I'd wear hoodies and PJs all the time, but it was always black, 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 which again, nothing wrong with it. Black matches everything. It always makes you look good. It's one of those things. But for me, I was always so negative wearing black. I was just always kind of that, head down, super type of, I don't want to mess with anybody, I don't want to talk to anybody. This is an opening type of like, I'm open, I'm free, I want to show my light, I want to show my true colors, and this helps resonate who I am.
It's kind of funny that you say that because it's a bit of a paradox, right? And I thank you for being so open because I'm somebody that who still deals with self-image issues, have always dealt with it. I'm half African descended of slaves, ADOS or black, and then my mom is from Fiji, right?
Mhm.
So I was never and I grew up here in the States, so I was never really good enough for any one of those groups. And then to make matters worse, for the most part, I grew up in Inglewood, right?
Yeah.
Sounding like this. Yeah, at the height of like Tupac, I think played my middle school homecoming, but the eighth grade, and I was in sixth grade or something
Mhm.
like that. It's like, gunshots. I've seen friends die and all that, whatever, right? So I've never really had like good self confidence, right? But it's weird because the young shorty, right, that would wear the hoodies and everything like that would just like whether you were absolutely focused on the task and completing school and
Mhm.
getting your burgeoning MMA career done, right? Or whatever, but you're somebody who has since fought all over the world. Name a promotion, you've been there, you've done that, you've won championships, you've came, you saw, you've conquered. So I think it's funny, not funny, but again, a little bit of a paradox that like you're the same dude, like hoodie, but also fought all over the world, interviewed a bunch of times in front of the bright lights, and performed fucking well, like brilliantly.
Well, thank you. I don't know, I'm starting to realize the closer I get to the age of 30, that's where you start to kind of look more into yourself and say, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I don't care what people think of me as much anymore. I'm not that youthful athlete or youthful person that's like, at the early age of 20, where you're just like 20, 21, 22, you really cared, you're really trying to find out who you are. And at the time I was super focused, but also at the time super, I wouldn't say super depressed, but I was super sad. I was just focused on one thing. I'm a child at heart, I'm little kid Goku everywhere I go. So I like to have a lot of fun, but when you have to be serious on goals, there's a lot of sacrifices that come into play where you have to lose time with friends, family, people, enjoyable moments, going out to parties, doing this because you're focused on a certain goal. That whole Kobe Bryant thing where it's like, I didn't know there was life outside the game. And me, I'm a very vocal person with my expressions, how I dress, how like, even though I might not show you my face, you're going to see naturally on just my natural mannerisms of, again, what I'm wearing, especially if I'm wearing nothing but black all the time. I don't want to talk to you. I'm busy. I'm in a sense in a dark place, but I'm trying to focus on something positive. Even though I'm always the nicest person or try my best to be the nicest person, it might have not came off the right way. So me wearing black all the time, again, I still wear it every once in a while. It's a vibe. I wanted to bring, now at the age of 29, slowly turn 30 next year, I wanted to bring my true colors out again and bring that kid in myself and find my true self. So why Kanye West's Power is one of my favorite songs, because it talks about fighting, for custody of his inner child again, the child that brought the light, his imagination, his creativity, his true self. Everyone has their inner child, but for some reason are so embarrassed to show it off. I mean, hell, I got like Dragon Ball Z figures next to me, and I got Stitch across the way. I have a pinata. I got, different things all around my room. So for me, I'm now, again, at the age of 30, all these little things, I'm just showing my true stuff of just having fun, and saying, fuck it. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. And if you do, then awesome, you can vibe with me. But if you're not part of my vibe, I don't want to vibe with you anyways. And my early 20s self would try to vibe with everyone, compared to now. It's like, if you're just not part of if I can't radiate with you, then I just go somewhere else. That's all it is.
Yeah, you're talking to me, who's got like a Danny Limelight, who's a pro wrestler, pro wrestler out of NYC.
Mm-hmm.
I've got like in the other room because unfortunately, like I got COVID like on this probably the 14th, right? But then tested the 17th, and then tested positive the 18th. But in the other room, I've got like one of those World of MMA Joe Rogan figures, and then just like this, kind of stuffed animal plushie thingy.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a Mean Gene Okerlund because that's who I grew up watching and listening to in old WWF TV before Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler.
You just gotta have fun and express yourself. A lot of people are shy to express themselves, and I get it. No matter what people say, we're always afraid of certain people's judgment. If it's just random people, okay. If it's a random fan, sure. But if it's a teammate, if it's a friend, it's like, really? It's like, what, man, that's just who I am. And regardless if you like it or not, learn to live with it. If you're gonna live with me, learn to live with it. If you're gonna be with me in part of my life in some sort of way. Again, you don't have to vibe with it, but you can be mutual. You can be at least somewhat respectful. Be like, well, that's Shorty, and that's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Which you might have shared it before, but over the last year, right? We didn't know, it's like the Afghanistan before 9/11, right? Where a lot of people didn't know where Afghanistan was, even though the luxury, the higher side of life, they were buying Afghan carpets for their houses, right? Before 2020, like March of 2020, much of the U.S., much of the world really didn't deal with mental illness, right, or depression, right? But this year, in many ways, has tested it all, and we're still kind of going through it. All of the political stuff, all the vaccine versus no vaccine, if COVID is man-made or whatever, right? Like, and all that shit, like none of it matters really. But I want to ask, what got you through it? What pulled you out of the depression to get this shining human being that is in front of us today?
Man, I'd like to think probably two people. And given there are a lot of people that I have to thank, because I had mental coaches, I had people reaching out to me every once in a while, I had people in general, and Dean Thomas was definitely a huge part of it. Me moving out of ATT and coming here, so I guess I got to thank three people. Moving out of ATT and being here with David Evans, my coach Dean Thomas, and Julian Robinson, my teammate. It's just one of those things that when you hang around positive people, eventually you're gonna start to naturally be positive. You're gonna you want to hang out with certain people. When I was part of a team, like a big team, you're sometimes pushed to the back and known as a body or known as just another person there compared to really the focus. And here, there's only three people. So Dean Thomas has a lot of time to focus on us. And because of COVID, and we all, in a sense, live together, it was just us every single day, kind of like back in high school when it's just like the same group, that same posse you hang out with every day, no matter what you guys do. It's always a good time. And, honestly, through COVID, I was already going through a lot of things, and I'm as real as possible, so I'm not shy to say what I'm embarrassed about. I'm not shy to say the darkness that I go through, because we all go through darkness. It doesn't matter if I have a blue check mark, doesn't matter how many belts I have, man, I go through a lot of shit too. So, for me, I had to deal with, being cut from the UFC unfairly. I had to deal with, the slow demise of my relationship, which I was engaged for about 7.5 years with somebody. Again, you think you're going to marry, have kids. And at the same time, my father passed away, so through COVID, the only thing I had left, because my father and the UFC was already gone, the only thing I had left was, we'll even say my engagement, because we were still friends, kind of those mutual friends of like, maybe, I don't know, seeing where life goes. And then eventually it's just like, hey, that's it. She kind of was like, we both mutually agreed, like, hey, we're done. But this was like, damn, huh, I'm not even myself, and all this alone time, especially through COVID, you start to realize that, man, you want to give yourself to everybody, but I was only giving because I was so mentally broken through so many traumatic things, a lot of these traumas. I was only giving 20% of myself to somebody, and only giving 20% of myself to my training, to my life, my family, my friends. Dude, and I'm a caretaker. I'm that peace guy that wants to make everyone happy, and I want to give myself to everyone. The only problem is, one, I'll spread myself too thin. And then two, if I did give myself to whether it was somebody or people, I'm only able to give you 20%. So is that really fair to you? Well, no. And then it's also not fair to me because I can't give you my everything. So in a sense, I'm always failing myself. So all that time of, in a sense, trying to face these traumas, journaling, reading, looking out, and talking to mental coaches, talking to Jillian, Dean Thomas, David Evans, all these different circumstances, and trying to figure out myself and trying to figure out why I was so sad, why I was so low, why I was so dependent on people. Again, a career that I thought I was going to do since I was 4, kicks me out. The father that I finally had, was amazing. My best friend, finally gone. The person you think you're going to marry, the love of your life, is gone as well. I went through Kanye West's 808s where his fiance left him and his mother died. It's like, oh no, this is the coldest winter. So for me, I was going through a lot of shit and a lot of loneliness, especially through COVID. You hear people committing suicide through COVID because they were so lonely. I'm a huge extrovert. Dude, I saw this thing where it's like extroverts and they go out anytime they have a conversation, it's like they get a coin, and by the end of the day, they're rich because they feel great. They're like, yeah, I talked to him, I talked to that. I'm that. But when I was stuck in a dorm every day, because of COVID, it's like, damn, there's nothing to do. And then when you're here by yourself, given, I was able to talk to so many people and have a lot more fun times with my personal team. I was like, you know what, let me find my inner self. Let me, again, that whole power thing. Let me fight for custody of my inner child and bring myself back to truth and find out why I became so dependent on people, why I was now starting to doubt my MMA career. Now it was being hindered because of my emotions. My last 3 fights since I signed with Brave, I mean, even my 2 fights in the UFC were shit because I was already going through a bunch of stuff mentally. I don't care how great my machine is. Without a proper operator, that machine is worthless. So it's like you just go into something, pressing the buttons, and it doesn't work. The big red button doesn't always, push off miracles. Sometimes that self-destruct button, and sadly, I exploded. So it took a lot of time. And I think even right now, I'm probably about 82% of the man I want to be. And there's still 18% left, and I'm still working for. And that's the hardest 18%. I'm never ever going to be 100%. But it's a fact of, now I can tell you, the more positive I've been with myself and now being true, now being free, now being like, you know what? Let me live for me. Let me live for my focus on what I want to accomplish, my job, my career, this and that. If a partner comes in my life one day, I'm not forcing that. I'm letting that come. If a great career comes in one day, then awesome. If more comes, then awesome. But I'm kind of going with the flow instead of thinking of the future, which was the anxiety of everyone had. A lot of moments were broken because of COVID. Things ended. A lot of people died, obviously, and got sick and this and that. Nothing's guaranteed, and we can't live for tomorrow. So don't live for tomorrow. Let's live for today. And that's what I'm starting to do, is just let me enjoy now, just in case tomorrow never comes. Let me appreciate the people I have. Let me cherish the moments that are in front of me. And let me just live in the now and see what happens next. But don't worry about what happens next. Let's give everything to what is in the moment. Again, what's that phrase? It's like the future is a mystery. The past, is history, and then the present is literally a present. So let's enjoy what we have.
No, 100%, 100%. And again, I appreciate you sharing that. And not to divulge too much of it, but American Top Team, right? They're
Yeah.
synonymous with the MMA championships, and all that jazz, right? And you have friends there. I've got friends there. I've got friends who have moved from reputable gyms here in California to go down there pretty recently, and you don't have to look very far to know who it is, right? But with that all being said, energies and dynamics and personalities, those all matter, right? Because essentially, your coach is basically divulging the game plan, the war plan, and you are their player one when it comes down to it, and you're putting your body, life, and limb in their hands, right? And if there's no trust there, and I'm not saying that I don't know anything that happened there, but it's just when LeBron left Ohio, right? Right when he left the Cavs, I believe, right?
Yeah,
And I could be totally wrong, right? And he went down to Florida, and then he joins, what is it, uh,
Lion.
Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. They're like, oh my God, this is like, the second Kobe coming of Kobe and Shaq, and even more because there's three of them, and then Jordan and Pippen and everything.
Yeah.
And it took a while for their dynamic to establish. Same thing with Kobe and Shaq, right? Like their dynamic, it took a while, right? I mean, I was born in San Francisco, right? So we had two back-to-back quarterbacks when I was young, of Joe Montana and then Steve Young, and then a glimmer of hope with like Frank Gore, who went to University of Florida and what have you. um Frank Gore, Colin Kaepernick, and the coach and whatever, like, and then it just all fell apart. And in many ways I feel like, again, that the dynamics, and we are essentially paying for 30 years of two Hall of Fame quarterbacks and everything like that. So it takes a while to establish dynamics. And when most people hear an American top team, when they hear a Black House, when they hear a MMA Lab, or a Jackson Wink, and they're like, oh, that just produces a champion, right? That just whatever. But that's not necessarily the case.
It's not necessarily the case in American Top Team. It's one of those gyms, and again, I have great things to say, and I also have bad things, but that's for every gym. So I'm never ever going to be like, this gym's horrible. No, every
Right.
gym has their greats. Every gym has their bad. The thing is, with American Top Team, at least from what I've noticed, you look at myself. I've been to most of those gyms, Jackson Wink, Rufus Sport, American Top Team, and it just, the list goes on and on and on. All these, high level, notable big gyms that are always being voted as one of the best gyms in the country. But the American Top Team, I haven't seen, and given there's maybe a handful of people, but no one started there. All these people have been developed somewhere else, whether it's Brazil, the States, different countries, in different gyms, and then coming here to American Top Team because, again, the Lions follow the rest of the Lions, and that's where they want to train, is against the other group of gladiators that can hold their own, because that's going to make them better. You don't see Dustin Poirier sparring some random Joe. You see Dustin Poirier sparring Masvidal, because that's what's going to make him better. That's going to help him get that much more prepared for his fight, whoever he's fighting. Obviously Kobe back in the day, and all these other guys. So Lions train with Lions. The only thing that I have to say is, again, no one started there. Everyone went there because it's like the Olympic Training Center. All these guys are from different places around the country, and they go there to train because it's the best of the best. Same thing with Jackson Wing. Same thing with Sanford down the block. Same thing with all these other massive gyms. It's the best of the best training with each other, and the coaching is great. The only problem is there's only 10 coaches. So, and no matter if it's Matt Brown or Dean Thomas at the time or all these other guys, they're only able to divide their time so much to so many people. When you have 100 level guys at the gym, again, you had Jillian Robinson, Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, Dustin Poirier, Masvidal, Barao, for me. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Who do you pick? Especially when they all around have, fights, around the same time. So it's like, that's when it gets difficult. Who's more important? Who, is going to make more money for the gym? Who, coaches, who are they going to pick? So it gets very political there. But again, it's their formulas worked for them. It just wasn't 100% for me. And when Dean Thomas left, I was like, that was my coach. That was the coach that I worked with. Same thing with Jillian Robertson. So her and I were just like, well, Dean's gone. No offense. No one else really pays attention to us, and we're just a body here. Again, great gym, and they've taken care of me so much. Same with Jillian Robertson. But we're like, you know what? We're just going to focus more one-on-one time. I think we're at a level to where we don't need to learn more, or work with these amazing bodies. We know what we can do. We need to work one-on-one with somebody, get our hand held, and go, hey, maybe you should go this way. Hey, maybe you should go that way. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, 100%. Now, my wife, my lovely wife, Mary Wood, says, yes, you're right. Live in the moment. Tomorrow's not promised, nor should it be worried about. Well, honey, use that when I buy another one of these off of eBay.
It's one of those things that I've noticed, because I've talked to a lot of friends who are very goal oriented, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's amazing. Like, you have goals. That's something to live for, especially like that main goal. You have to have these sub goals to get to that main goal. But the thing is, and you feel better when you have those sub goals because you have those little steps to work towards compared to like this is just so far away. But man, living in the now is such a huge thing because a lot of us, especially this day and age of COVID, we all suffer from anxiety. My anxiety, I never really had much. I suffered from so much anxiety because COVID pushed so many things back or ended so many things, or now I had that worry of like, oh my God, my friend is sick. Like, what's going to happen? Anxiety is pretty much it literally, I think the definition of anxiety is fear of what's not true, fear of possibly what's to come. So pretty much you're afraid or causing anxiety in yourself of things that have not happened yet. That's anxiety. That's all. Oh my God, tomorrow I got to do this. What if this happens? What if that? It's like going on stage. What if I mess up and this and that? It's like, yeah, all those possibilities, but let's not worry about that until that moment comes. Let's enjoy this now, because if you think about tomorrow, then you cannot enjoy today. And that's, I think that is the biggest thing that, I 100% try to put out there, especially with that timetable of like, I need to accomplish this by the age of 25. And if I don't get it, then okay, well, if 25 comes, are you just going to stop trying to achieve that goal? No, you're going to try to keep on pushing forward and be like, oh, well, hopefully by 26, well, hopefully by 27. Yeah, we're not trying to prolong it, but sometimes things come for people earlier in life. Sometimes things come for people later on in life, and hopefully they come at the right time when you are ready. But until then, until it comes, keep on working your ass off, and hopefully you get to that point.
No, 100%. And Keyboard Warriors MMA, who actually encouraged me to start this podcast, they go hashtag Team Shorty, which I believe we all are. I think we all are, right? Like, even if we're friends with your opponent of the night, right? Where a lot of us are, we're still like, I like this dude. Like all the promos, just your face. You have a very calming and aesthetically appeasing face, and it's just like no, like we're walking. It's Shorty, and there's like a seismic shift, right? When like they might be going, and you've experienced it. You've been in the arena. They might be going for your opponent, right? And then the tide starts, like they say in Japan, Japanese wrestling, fighting spirit, fight forever. They see your fighting spirit, they see what's you're in you, right, before their eyes, and literally the barometer goes the other way.
You gotta respect that. I remember when my very first fight for Brave, I fought a Mirabazi in Jordan. I fought pretty much an Iraqi in Jordan, a Muslim in a Muslim country where I'm coming in. And at the time, especially, I mean, even still now technically, but with Trump at the time was like Muslims this, Muslim that, they're bad, Americans number one, Christianity. And me, I'm neither of anything. I just
Right.
want my life as free as possible. So when I go out there and I go to the Middle East all the time, I'm fighting in Jordan against a Middle Eastern, and I go out there and I walk out second and immediately, and you're just like, huh, well, this is the first time for that. And then after, I win the fight, and the first thing I say is like, Assalamu alaikum. And everyone's just like, yeah, because it's like, I want to respect your culture and I want to respect you. And I hope that you guys respect me. If you don't, then, sadly it is what it is. But at least you can tell I'm trying and also trying to put on a show for you, which I did. And I had so much respect after that. People were shaking my hand and this and that. And especially in the sport of fighting, I'm glad I have a genuinely positive face. Sometimes some people, especially Jalen Robertson, comes up to me. She goes, "You have a face I want to punch." But I like to have fun and be true and just be as free as possible. And again, be as genuine as possible to people. And if people don't resonate with that, well then maybe you should just focus on you and because if you don't focus on yourself, you're gonna stay negative, and a lot of people are gonna not want to hang out with you anymore either.
No, 1,000%, 1,000%. And Mary's like 100%, 100%. Um, no, and it's I actually want to kind of like change gears, and I want to frame it a little bit differently because I'm sure you've heard ad nauseum by guys and gals like me that are like, oh, you know, like how did you start MMA? How does it feel, right? So, and Mary says, I love this guy. Speak. So,
Yeah.
not me, you. My wife loves you. So, we're probably going to buy some merch off of your website, which I encourage everyone to do. That is in your bio on all of your social media.
Which,
Pretty.
with that being said, all of my foundation, or excuse me, all of my money that goes to like the gear, like any income that comes off the gear does not go to me. It goes to my foundation, Team Shorty Foundation, which 100% helps. All the proceeds go to kids, teens, and young adults to stay inside the gym and off the streets. I've been able to donate a bunch of gear, Team Shorty gear. I've been able to donate, MMA gloves, boxing gloves, a gym, stuff like that. I've been able to pay monthly memberships. I've been able to give kids scholarships to go to school. I'm actually starting a scholarship this year for my high school. It's a $3,000 scholarship based out of my foundation. A really good guy passed away in my neighborhood who used to help so many people, and my foundation is able to do that. At the end of the year, some kid gets that $3,000 to go to school, whether it's to buy books or do this. So my foundation, I'm not as big as the Good Fight or, the Manny Pacquiao Foundation, but I want to get there one day, and any little shirt sale helps, and hopefully new gear coming soon. But man, I appreciate love and support, but that's why I say we will together. We are Team Shorty.
Yeah. Again, wow, so awesome. You know how many points you're getting me with my wife?
Yeah.
Like 15 years, and like I'm gonna get her some fucking Shorty Torres gear. Like that's it. That's gonna be her birthday's coming up, Christmas is coming up. There's gonna be probably every item on your website literally gift wrapped for her. And they're really, really awesome designs. So I encourage you all to do so. But if they go on that particular website, on your merchandise website, they'll see a mural in Chicago, your native Chicago, of you with your 2 world championship belts, right? Which again immortalizes you. They did the same thing with the late great Eddie Guerrero in El Paso, right? Like that's just you're immortalized. There's like that's it. It's not coming down, right? Just like all of the edits, one of which I used on this app, on this podcast. Shout out to JC Graphics, whose link is in the bio. But the thing about it is Chicago. It's wondrous. It's dangerous. It's cold. It's hot, right? And then Florida. So how did you go from one place to the other?
It's crazy because people were telling me, they're like, what have been your favorite places to travel and this and that, and like how is it living? Because Florida, so far, I've lived here for almost about 4 years. I'm still a Chicago, Illinois resident, but and that's also because I travel so much. I lived in California for about a year, Albuquerque, New Mexico for a year, Texas almost about a year, Fort Worth. I lived in now Florida for almost 4 years, Wisconsin for 6 months, Denver for about 2 years. So everything, because I've been traveling all these different gyms. I like to be a true mixed martial artist, so I like to mix it up and do these things. Florida, though, has so many high level gyms that, for example, Dean Thomas has 3 characters: myself, David, and Jillian. There's really no one else that comes in. Sometimes we have bodies to kind of give us different looks, but we don't spar here. Sparring with each other is very limited because we do the same thing every day. We're only going to get better, so much because we know what we're going to do. So I travel up to Orlando, the Fusion. I travel down to Sunrise for American Top Team Sunrise sparring. I go down to the Goat Shed in Miami. Maybe one of these days I go to Sanford. Maybe one of these days I get invited back to American Top Team. I don't know. I go to different gyms and just have fun. I have no ego. I don't go into these gyms and go, I'm going to be the best guy here. I just go, hey, is there anybody I can spar with that's my size? I'd love to get some help, and obviously help in return, because I know my body, I know my presence, and I know these bodies, I know the presence of how they can help me as well. Look at the Goat Shed. I've been down there every Thursday. I drive literally 2 hours every Thursday there, and then 2 hours every back for an hour and a half of sparring. So that's how these gyms are worth it. And plus, it's also showing the commitment that I have to accomplish my goals. A lot of people complain about this and that, and I make videos on my story all the time where I'm like, man, I'm tired, I'm sore, I'm fatigued. It's already at the end of the week. I don't want to do this, but I still got to get the job done. So I'm driving down to the Goat Shed. I spar. Maybe I have a good day. Maybe I have a bad day, but it's a day nonetheless. And hopefully I learn from it. That means it's going to be a good day in general. And then I drive back 2 hours, and then hopefully regroup, plan out another plan for next week, and do it again. So me, I'm a traveler and I like to have fun. Chicago, though, no matter where I travel in the world, it's beautiful places. I've been to Petra. I've been to Falls Iguazu. I've been to, everywhere. Chicago's my home. No matter how good, how bad, this. I've had death threats. I've had people love me forever. I've had, kids that I love to take care of and hang out with and try to inspire. I've had people who hate my guts in Chicago, but Chicago's my home. It's a beautiful city, and that's where I want to establish my foundation really, and do so much work when it comes to owning a restaurant and buying an apartment complex and possible different businesses. And I'm already in the start of that. So it's the fact of my city. I want to show that I'm not just another shorty from Chicago. I'm another shorty trying to make it out. And if you can, so or excuse me, if I can, so can you. Again, my father was gang affiliated. I'm still technically gang affiliated because of my father's presence and how notable he was in Chicago. Where I'm like, no matter if I'm not repping it or if I'm just repping my father, automatically I'm repping the gang. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I go home and I still get checked. I'm just like, come on, man. Like, you know who I am. I'm not at all like gunslinging here. I'm not trying to start any problems. I'm literally trying to be as peaceful as possible, neutral to every gang, neutral to everyone coming in, no matter if you're Chicago is extremely segregated. So it doesn't matter if you're black, Latino, Mexican, Puerto Rican, anything in Chicago, Greek, Asian, whatever type of Asian, all these other things, Middle Eastern, Bilal Muhammad's neighborhood in Oak Lawn, all these, it doesn't matter who you are. If I just want to have a good time and inspire people and hopefully help people. But Chicago is my neighborhood, man. And that's where I want to live forever. But I have to make my time and sacrifice here to where it's going to be all worth it towards the end.
I love it. I love it. And it's funny because like you say all the different cultures that kind of, you know, like blend and essentially make the tapestry that is Chicago,
Mhm.
right? Well, that's one of the reasons why I haven't really left LA. When we came here when I was 9, there's so much here. Now, of course, I'm going to go to other places for work and all that jazz, but like it'll always be home, right? One thing that I do want to ask you
What's up?
about Chicago, there's two things. I mean, there's many things, right? There's Wrigley Field, the Cubs, the Sox, the Bulls. Like, there's many things that are synonymous with Chicago. But I want to go, and hopefully you're not cutting weight, so I hope I'm not speaking out of school. But Chicago style hot dogs
Mhm.
and deep dish pizza.
Yeah, man. Actually, Chicago got voted one of the best cities, one of the beautiful cities, most beautiful cities, but also one of the best cities for food. And I can tell you this: Pro Gonzalez says it, Bilal Muhammad says it, Ricardo Lama says it. All these notable guys from Chicago, David Diaz from boxing says it. No matter where you go around the world, we are spoiled. Like I lived in San Diego with Pro Gonzalez for a few months, and I was like, oh well, we're right next to Mexico. Let's get some tacos. And I was just like, and
Yes.
these tacos suck, and same thing with pizza. I remember living down in St. Louis for school. It's like, oh, we're not that far. Let's try St. Louis pizza. And I was just like, the hell is this? And I have even the beef with New York style pizza. My nutritionist, Louis Giordano, obviously he's a Jersey guy, so he's right next door and we have pizza. And he's like, this is real pie. And I'm just like, this pie sucks. I have my little food channel on Instagram where I like to have fun in my food reviews, and I'm very honest. So if I don't like something, I'll be nice with it, but I'm just like, I'm not a fan of it. And Chicago, man, the one thing about Chicago is that the neighborhoods are so segregated that, for example, my neighborhood's all Mexican, so everything down the block is primarily a pizza shop or a taco shop, a taqueria. So you
Wow.
literally have almost two every single block for a mile. So with that being said, a lot of taco shops close very often because they can't survive and compete with the other taquerias because either their prices are off or the food just isn't as good. So literally the best survive. So when it comes to all these places, for example, again, my neighborhood, all Mexican, primarily at least, you have the whole thing is tacos or at least Mexican cuisine. So if you're not good Mexican food, you're not going to survive because you have like 10 other places that are phenomenal. It's the same thing when you go to the Humboldt Park, Puerto Rican food. If you can't make good jibaritos, if you can't make good lechon or, arroz gandules and all these different things, you're not going to survive, So that's why Chicago is notable for some of the best food. So when it comes to deep dish, a lot of people try. Same thing with American or Chicago style hot dogs. A lot of people try. If you're not good, man, trust me, with social media now, the world will know and you will not survive.
Chicago's always been that town, though. That's why CM Punk just debuted for AEW there. He's a Chicago guy himself, right? A CFFC commentator along with John Morgan, He was there. He was commentating. Look how crazy this shit is. He was commentating the fight in Philadelphia at the ECW arena, the Blood and Guts arena, right, where the guy lost his finger in the cage.
Oh, damn.
Yes. So again, wrestling and everything like ECW arena, CM Punk commentating MMA, and that guy was probably not the first person to lose their finger in that arena.
Huh. And I'm telling you, man, and wrestling, for as fake as it is, man, those injuries are 100% real.
Yeah, I mean, guys like Rampage Jackson and Tito Ortiz have tried. But then, in terms of succeeding, obviously we've got the Brock Lesnar's, we've got Shayna Baszler, like literally, a disciple of Josh Barnett and Billy Robinson, catch wrestling, Carl Gotch, right? The catch wrestlers, right? People think that jiu-jitsu is the only grappling art. We got catch wrestling, we got sambo, we got, judo, we got, like all this shit, right? But the thing about it is like Matt Riddle is doing well. Shayna Baszler is doing well. Tom Lawler, even though he's not signed, well, he's signed to MLW, he's doing well. There's so many guys and girls that have, done well. And everybody excites like CM Punk coming over. Well, there was like Kid Cash who wrestled in the original ECW and had a short stint in the WWE. Well, his real name, David Cash, he's 2-0 in terms of MMA down in Tennessee, right? Guys like Bobby Lashley, who, yes, of course, wrestled, looks like a fucking like boulder. He looks like a fucking Pokemon, right? Like, but he fucking did shit in Bellator. I think he's undefeated. Same thing, Jake Hager. But Jake Hager, obviously, as his real name, right? He was Jack Swagger in the WWE, but Jake Hager, he's undefeated. Alberto Del Rio was, I mean, if Mexico had sent a wrestling team to the 2000 Olympics, well, Alberto Del Rio, or his given name Alberto Rodriguez, was going to be on it. And the thing about it is his dad was Dos Caras, right? And his uncle is Mil Mascaras, two of the most legendary luchadors ever. But they raised this fucking wrestling badass. Like, it's so fun. And like most people, like Friday, assuming my COVID test tomorrow is negative, but I think I'm out of the woods. Like, I've got antibodies and I'm not contagious or whatever, right? But Friday night, Minoru Suzuki, the guy who co-founded fucking Pancrase, yeah, he's wrestling here in LA, in Hollywood. I want to go fucking see that. I've got my tickets. It's sold out. Like, it's a parallel, and there's a lot of guys like Kurt Angle. If UFC had big money, Kurt Angle would be there. Terry and Dory Funk would be there. Look at all of the fucking badass wrestlers that went into pro wrestling because there was no other option for them. They tried. Fuck, Wahoo McDaniel said fuck you to the NFL because the NFL was getting its ass kicked by the AFL back in the day. So he's like, I'm going to do wrestling. Fucking crazy.
It's man, wrestling is I talked to another wrestler, Zeta Zhang, and like the injuries that you go through with that, and I have I'm upset because I can't remember the guy from Chicago that I talked to who like we used to be sponsored by the same barbershop, but just how acrobatic you have to be, especially coincidentally, we were talking about it today. We were talking about Booker T because one of my guys on the floor, I was like, go do the spinneroonie, because he was just messing around. I was like, come on, do it again. And he's like, he just starts doing this, and we started talking about the Attitude Era of WWF.
Yeah.
And how crazy it was. But then you look at the wrestlers now and how acrobatic they are is a whole different thing. How back in the 70s, they were back, and David Evans was telling me back in the 70s, these guys would get on like the second rope, and that was the top rope, the second rope. Like, jumped off the second rope compared to now. You have people doing 540s and backflips and double backflips, like the the 5-star splash or frog splash by was it RDV or
RVD or Eddie Guerrero? Yeah.
Like, but now it's like you have guys doing double that, and it's just like the generation stuff just gets better and better. But also, with that being said, the injuries grow that much more, and it's a very, very, very tough sport. So when they transition to MMA, if they have good coaching and the fundamentals and stuff of it, like they can be very good. Again, Brock Lesnar and all these guys.
Yeah, you mentioned Zeta Zhang, and it's funny because you might see her on the outro of this very fucking podcast. Spoiler alert.
She's
Anywho,
and I keep on telling her because she's down in Miami every once in a while. I was like, hey, hit me up because I have some funny Instagram videos that I want to make with you, and we gotta have a good time.
yeah, and she's doing some stuff with AEW. I think it's, like I think we can say that it's public. It's been on her social media, so go ahead and follow us and Zeta Zhang. You'll be glad you did. It's amazing. Like she's friends with my wife. The last time I saw her, she gave my wife kind of one of these, a little bit smaller, an autograph because she loves my wife. They talk like it's a whole fucking thing, right? But shifting gears a bit, and again, you said Rob Van Dam. That's another guy. If MMA, had fucking hit in the '80s for him to make money in the '90s, maybe he doesn't go to wrestling. Maybe he fucking does MMA. But again, shifting gears a little bit, you mentioned Din Thomas, and that's another guy who, just like you, I might be friends with on another social media platform where I've been too nervous to kind of ask him, right? But the thing about it is, Din Thomas is a tremendous mind for MMA. Obviously, he's a coach. He's a commentator. He is basically replaced Nick the Tooth on Looking for a Fight. He is everywhere. He's everywhere. Like him and Yves Edwards, those guys kind of figured it out to have a life outside of MMA, but also still contribute to MMA. And it's just like it's amazing. I will put Chris Lieben and Frank Trigg on that list too, because like they are two people who referee here in California, amateur, right? They're legends, right? So what has Din Thomas professionally, personally meant to you as a person?
Man, it's crazy how the relationship started with him and I, because I'm a small athlete. I'm a flyweight. So naturally, I'm going to work with females. So every once in a while, if they need an extra body, I'm going to work with females. Jillian Robertson and I were already friends when I got to the gym. And then eventually she's like, hey, do you want to like roll? Do you want to work with me? I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't care. And I'm really good with just kind of, manipulating myself to be able to work with women. Like I'm not going to go as hard. I'm not going to try to put my weight. But then when you roll people like Jillian Robertson, you're like, oh, damn, I actually have to roll this hard. I have to put my weight because she's a whole different level. Like I follow her jiu-jitsu wise, and then she follows me stand-up wise. Like we try to mimic each other. So anytime I do stuff, I'm just like, I got that from you. Or vice versa. I was like, damn, you hit me with my move. That's not cool, So we like to have a lot of fun with that. But she would every once in a while was like, hey, do you mind drilling with me after practice? I'm like, sure. And then she is like Dean's pupil, like that's his little girl type of thing. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, if you need me, just let me know. And Dean was like, hey, Shorty, I need to work with Jillian at this time. Do you mind being a body for her? I was like, sure, as long as I can get some work too, that's fine. And Dean is fair enough to be like, you know what? If you're gonna work with Jillian, then fair play. She's gonna do 3 reps, you're gonna do 3 reps, and just keep on going. And that's how I slowly started to learn from Dean Thomas, and then starting to get closer to him, because that was kind of his group at ATT. Was kind of, we called each other like the outcast. Like everyone had the Russians, the Brazilians, the UFC fighters that are really, really popular, the this, that, and then there was like the outcast, and that was us. So like we were the black sheep, and every once in a while, I would just keep on working with Jillian. And Dean was like, if you want to do pad work, just let me know. I was like, awesome. Like he's starting to like me. And then eventually we went to Rufus Sport, and she didn't really have a body. Rufus Sport doesn't have women, besides, I can't remember her name, Macy Barber, but that was
Yeah,
after,
yeah,
after Jillian got there. So Jillian was still the only female. So she's like, hey, you want to come up to Rufus Sport? I was like, yeah, it's right next to Chicago. It's an hour and a half. I can see my family. I get to train, and I get to, live with you guys. Oh yeah, let's do it. And so went up there, trained with them, and I got closer to Dean. And I got even more closer to Dean. And by the time he left the gym, he would call us and be like, hey, I'm an hour and a half north. Do you want to drive up and train every night? Like, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not doing anything every night anyway. So both Jillian and I would drive up to Port St. Lucie, train, and then drive back down. Then eventually her family lives up here. So she's like, oh, I'm going to buy a place. I'll stay here with my family. I would do the drive all the time by myself and just train with him. And then also eventually ask him advice and be like, you know what, man, I don't really have a father figure. with me. So let me just kind of open up to you. And every once in a while, he would just give me this advice where it's like, it, you ever see Family Matters or like Fresh Prince?
Yes. I
Like,
hate Urkel, by the way, but it's
yeah,
okay.
he was like, sadly, probably Urkel, but he was my Carl Winslow, where like he just give that perfect advice, and you're just like, huh, damn, like mind blown type of thing. Like I can't really say anything back to it. So he would give me really good advice, and then eventually he's like, hey, I'm gonna get a place up here. Do you want to live in the fighter house? That's what he calls it. I was like, yeah, I mean, if you're cool with it, yeah, man. So he takes care of me while I live here, and literally every morning we train, every night we train, and it's either one on one, me, Jillian, and Dean, or we add David as well, or even some bodies, and it's literally like personal training every single practice, and we call it a master class. So he, like yesterday, Fight Bananas came on in, and we're training. He's like, all right, I want you guys to set up a combination, go into your shot, head outside single, and then you're gonna go into a transition, bring the person down, go into submission. And that's how open it is. It's like head outside single. Okay, cool. I kind of know this. Do whatever takedown. Okay, cool. I got to think about whatever takedown. All right, let's go to the transition to takedown, to whatever submission. Everyone's different. Jillian loves her rear naked chokes, and she's very good with her arm bars. I'm more of like the rear naked choke, ground and pound type of guy, and then make you do some stuff. So we get to kind of be ourselves, but he also integrates his style and his techniques with us. And I can tell you this, my coach back at home, Master Bob Shermer, he's also another father figure of mine, and he's the reason why I'm at where I'm at today. And he's going to be in my corner for my next fight as well coming up, which hopefully one day I'll be able to announce. But with that being said, I don't like being coached by people. I like to take care of myself. I'm a very, and sometimes too independent of a person. Every once in a while, I ask for advice of like, here, this, that. Oh, cool, thank you, I appreciate it, and use it for my next practice. But with Dean, he reminds me of my head coach, just younger. My head coach is like 65 years old. So Dean, being in his mid 40s right now, he's able to move with me and give me good advice and be in person literally every day. So in practices, I'll be like, hey man, what do you think about this? Or like, I'm kind of going through stuff. Do you mind giving me some space to talk? And we'll talk, and he'll give me this advice. And I'm just like, damn, like he gives you these metaphors, and you're like, damn, like I didn't know this. And I know he, just like every person, he's going through his stuff too. So with him, he's already been through most of it, hopefully.
Yeah.
So we're like, again, he's in his mid 40s. I'm in my late 20s, to where I want to ask my elders for advice, because hopefully they've been through it. And Dean's a person who's been, especially in the sport, where he's experienced the ups, experiences the downs, experiences, great relationships, bad relationships, this, that, yada, 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 to where when I ask him, he's like, hey, man, and just gives me that advice. And I'm just like, huh. And I'm I try my best to be a very cerebral person. Again, years ago, I wasn't, because I was very to myself, very one-minded, blinders on, not opening my mind to stuff. And he's helped me. And that's why I say, like, he's really, really helped me open myself up. Because again, I like to do the whole Snoop Dogg thing, where it's like, last and foremost, I like to thank me for not giving up and do all that stuff. Yeah, I like to thank me for not giving up. But there were so many people that helped me, and Dean Thomas is especially one of those people that helped me push through and be as positive as I am today.
Yeah, it's funny. Depending on how his name is, the way that his name is spelled, it's not traditional. It's D-I-N, right? For those who are not inclined, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I think of one Din Thomas is either the D-I-N in Dinty Moore soup, the stew, so it's hearty, right? And it's fulfilling. And when you fucking need it, it's there. Or Dean of a school, right? Head of the fucking, educational minefield. I mean, not minefield, but Mount Rushmore, if you will, right? Educational mountain. And that's kind of what he is. And that's what he kind of purveys throughout his fighting career, his fighters, his commentary, his shit with Dana White, how he fucking jumped off the fucking deal and didn't know how to fucking swim in Hawaii, right? With Rachel Ostovich, but Dana White fucking was there for 10 hours or some shit like that. That is Din Thomas, folks,
Which we are 100% the most stereotypical household in Florida. He is 100% that black guy that can't swim. And it's like, come on, Dean, you're in the mid 40s. You haven't learned how to swim yet, man. Break the stereotype. break the damn stereotype. But you know,
Did
with
you?
like what you're saying with his name, it's like I literally live with two people who don't spell their name correctly. Dean Thomas is spelled Din Thomas. And then I have Jillian Robertson, who spells it with the G, given she's Scottish, whatever, as an
Yeah.
excuse. So her name is Gillian. You know, so it's like, but you know, we all have our nicknames for each other, and it's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, to a lesser degree, right? It's either Jose or Jose
Mm-hmm.
or Shorty. And so you kind of got that
Man,
deal too.
I went to I went to because you know my whole life has been called Shorty. If you knew me when I was younger, you called me Angel. That's usually reserved for my family, my closest friends, stuff like that, and then other nicknames depending on who you are. But I went to Jillian's house or her parents' house yesterday to pick her up so we can go to jujitsu. And when I walk in, her father answers the door, and she goes, "Oh," he's like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing, Jose?" And I'm like, um. "Hey, sir, how you doing, Dave?" Shit, this caught me off guard. I guess because you're like a proper, you know, mature parent. I'll give you the leeway to call me Jose, but and I don't know. He's like, Jillian told me to call you Jose. I was like, fuck, she's trying to fuck with me. I don't like this. I don't like it because I one Jose is just such a very stereotypical Latino name, and that's fine. I'm not at all bashing my heritage, but it's just like, man, come on, Jose. Like we couldn't get creative and just call me something different. Like my middle name's Angel, you know. So like they would call me Angel when I was younger, so it'd be a little easier, especially in a Latino neighborhood where like you say Jose or Jose, especially when no one's name is Jose. It's like, let's say you were at a Home Depot. There's a bunch of Mexicans in the corner. If you say Jose, everyone's like, I want a job. You know, it's like, no, that's messed up, man. That's fucked
Yeah,
up. Let's say something different. So like everyone would just call me Angel or Angel, or every once in a great while, if I got in trouble, Jose Angel. But that was about it.
that's why I'm Woods, not Adam, because I got tired of, hey Adam, where's Eve? And when we had our son, my wife and I, she was like, Adam Jr. I said, fuck no, that's not happening. Right. So one of my favorite wrestlers growing up was both Brett and Owen Woods. And my son would be named Brett if it went with Woods, but it's Owen James, just like Owen James Hart. So there's that. Now, speaking of viewing things, and I know like we're short on time, but if a theoretical movie night is going on at the Fighter House, and you, Dean, and Jillian are watching, what's playing and who picked it?
Oh man, that it's more than likely Dean or David. If it's Dean, it's more than likely either a very inspirational movie or one of those like kung fu movies on UFC Fight Pass that like that the names don't even sound accurate type of thing. Like Shaolin Monk Donkey something, and you're like, but we watch it. Awesome. Um, if Julian and I picked it, it's more than likely it's animated movie because we're both children, and her attention span goes very very fast. So she's not a movie person. And then Dave is probably like a real deep African American, like Black Hood type of movie that is like either Boys in the Hood or something inspirational as like Malcolm X, you know, Martin Jr., stuff like that. So it depends on what we're watching. I'm perfectly fine with type of kung fu action comedy. So a Jackie Chan film is my thing.
Okay, I'm gonna make a suggestion to you, and it's gonna be right up your alley because it's a live adaptation of a cartoon,
Oh,
and that is
like you're gonna say Mulan.
no Josie and the fucking Pussycats, folks.
No, God. All right.
No, have you seen it?
No, but I'll,
You
I'll
need to see it.
okay.
Like with all of the political fucking hubbub, the red versus blue and whatever, and Yuka, whatever. Like people are political parties, but they're not Americans. But they're Americans, but they're like, oh fuck the other party, but they are also American. It's a whole fucking thing. And my wife broke it down to me, like in a way that I could understand. Right? Well, the conservative, Republicans, they're red, right? The liberal Democrats, they're blue, right? So and when you put red and blue together, it makes purple, right? So what the fuck was Prince talking about in Purple Rain? You say you want a leader, but you can't seem to make up your mind. Let me guide you to the Purple Rain. It's fucking love. the love that you have for Dean, the love that he has for you, that you have for Jillian, like the whole thing, the love that you have for your parents, love that you have for Chicago and Florida, respectively. Like that's it. The love that you have for fighting. There, see, you already fucking know, bro.
Got it, man. Well, again, my stories, my main colors were purple and black. So my three favorite colors are purple, red, white. White being my favorite. Now, white is my favorite just because it's me. It makes every single color, it accepts every color. It's a color of light, tranquility, peace. It's usually positive. Something again, you look for light for something positive. You don't go to darkness. Red is a very strong color because it's either very strong of love or hate. There's no in between. Red is you love someone, you hate someone. And then purple has been in my blood since I was born. Like my full nickname technically is Lil Shorty G because my dad's name is Shorty G. So growing up, purple and blue were always my color. Purple was naturally a thing. So having a purple rose, purple heart, giving away like yeah, even my wallet is purple. Like everything is one of those things that I realize my father remember him and cherish. But it's a positive color to me because it just shows a lot of sympathy. It shows a deeper side to life.
I love it. All right, a quick hit, right? Favorite food.
Favorite food, taco. It's Mexican.
Oh, lucky. So, this one you can go a little bit longer. Obviously, you have done amazing things in your career, but it's with a lot of amazing people behind you, both professionally and personally. Here's mine because she's saying you are a light, good sir. So there's that. You know, that's coming from my wife. Like, holy shit, right? So take as long as you need. Let's get some shout outs out of the way.
Um, I like to give a shout out to myself for not giving, and give a shout out to myself for pushing through all the bullshit and also giving bullshit back to life. Life is unfair, and sometimes you gotta go out. I'm gonna go out on my. Might as well go out the. Um, and just everyone supporting me, man. My team here, Jillian, David, my family back at home, my brother, my mother, my father who passed away. The reason why I did the sport, all the people, my coach, Master Rob Shermer, all my sponsors, and everyone supporting me. Yourself, giving me the platform to speak up and have everyone, man. Whether it's Chicago, United States, Middle East, all these different places I've traveled. I always say we will together because I can't do it without people support, and that's my foundation. So I'm able to pay it forward and give my support back in any way I can. Team Shorty Foundation and Instagram, and also again, 100% of the proceeds of my website, teamshorty.com, the link in my bio on my IG, Jose Torres, goes to my foundation to help keep kids, teens, and young adults in the gym and off the street. I personally want to state that my father and my brother were the reason for my foundation. Amazingly talented individuals that just never got opportunity. And if they would better years, because my father, no offense, the best father, especially my brother, because like age, not the most competent at the time or as mature, but man, and my brother just had an opportunity. My family money, it wasn't the right need, and that gyms give you great father, great positive people around you, friends that can motivate you to stay inside the gym. And I try to give that opportunity to a lot of people. So I can just imagine if my brother had the opportunity, if my father had the opportunity, where they've been in their life, how much it changed it, whether it was one day or for the rest of their lives. And it keeps kids off the streets. And I know a lot of people that sadly were shot because of dumb stuff. And that just we're in the wrong place at the wrong time. My brother's been stabbed 17 times, so it's one of those things that, like, man, if I can get people off the streets in better places, that's me paying it forward. That's my way to say thank you. And I'm not at all trying to look for anything in return. I just want the hype out of it so more people see that I'm doing positive things, because Manny Pacquiao, and people are like, oh, you want the hype, you want to look popular. No, Manny Pacquiao did it, boasted that he had a foundation. Because of him, I was like, if he's getting a foundation, I want a foundation. If he's giving back all this money, I want to give back all this money. And those are the role models. Those are the role models I want to be like. It's like, I'm not trying to do this to boast and be like, yeah, I give away, so I deserve everything. But no, man, I give away, so hopefully you can give away as well, and know that everything we have in our life isn't going to last forever. So might as well give back where we can, because if we ain't going to use it, then give it.
No, absolutely. And that's one thing that you do impeccably well. And I know I linked both your Instagram, your Twitter, as well as your illustrious shop that we've talked about at length here on this podcast. But for those who are not inclined, where can they find you, good sir? As Judah Friedlander says on his cap, world champion, where can
Uh,
they find you on the social media?
Yo, Facebook, Shorty Torres MMA, with Twitter, Shorty Torres MMA, my website, teamshorty.com, and 100% on my IG, Jose Shorty Torres. If people want to message me. I literally accept every single message request. Try my best to like every post I'm tagged in. I even if I'm not a fan of it, even if it's spam or scam or this that, like I'm just like, I'm good, but I'll at least message back. Try to show that I'm another average human being trying to be another average human being, going out of my way to like you look up to me. I appreciate it. I'm gonna give every advice I can to you. If I can't, I can't. If I can, I will. Definitely understand my fans, so please, and I'll get to it when I can.
Hey, you did it like for me like 5 years ago. So I can't thank you enough, So again, go ahead and follow Shorty on all of his social media. You'll see everything that's coming up with his fight, but also with his life, which I think is really important and really important for the people. Like my wife said, he's a light. I believe it. He's radiating right now, right? So again, go ahead and follow and subscribe to everything he's doing. And also, if you're in that mood, I would warmly encourage you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Shorty, you're subscribed, right?
I am subscribed. And with that being said, people we've talked about a little bit. Every single night I put out something, whether it's present at that moment or it's something I've been through and I'm putting it out there, whether it's a breakup, of a loss, grief, insecurity, self, negative, this, that, whatever, fighting. I put up mental story every single day. Either it's song, either it's a Tyson give a quote or actual cat quote or a video like we are right now. Yes. So guys, check it out. It does help at least you can help more people.
You are absolutely brilliant, my brother. I appreciate it. And again, if you don't believe me, which you probably wouldn't, and if you don't believe Shorty, which you probably should, but you know what? Take it from our mutual friend, pro wrestler, and undefeated mixed martial artist, one Zeta Zhang, to help convince you.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to